As we gather here, O God, for this dedication today, we ask your blessing upon each of us. We thank you for this occasion as we honor the memory of these patriots. We esteem their patriotism and courage, their faith and loyalty, and their willingness to sacrifice to make our world a better place. Amen. We'll be honoring 3 patriots today here at this cemetery.
We all would not be able to enjoy the freedom to gather here today if it wasn't for the bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers we honor today. Let us remember their names: Cowles, Constantine Mills, and Clement Tuttle.
I'm also going to do the keynote talk today, and this talk is going to be in 2 parts. One part here, and the second part will be up at the other cemetery at 4:30. So what I'm going to talk about today are going to be some of the symbols that we have in the United States. And the first 3 symbols that I'm going to talk about are those symbols that are related back to the Revolutionary period of time. Of course, the first symbol that we have, and we always think of when we talk about symbols of the United States, is behind me, and that is our American flag. In 1775, the American colonies were still flying the British flag. This was even after the battles of Lexington and Concord. It was called the Union Jack. It was decided by the Continental Congress that they needed to fly their own flag. And so one of the characters that we know so much about at that point in time, Benjamin Franklin, was asked to head up a new committee to determine what kind of a flag we should have. At that point in time, there was still a lot of apprehension about leaving the control of Great Britain, and some people in the Continental Congress did not want to do that. So they decided to try and not upset the apple cart too much, and they took the British flag, which was the Union Jack, and they shrunk it down into a small corner of the flag and put the 13, the traditional that we know now as traditional, stripes on there, the red and the white stripes. And so that was the first flag for about 1.5 years. That flag was hoisted on New Year's Day, January 1st, in 1776 on Prospect Hill near Cambridge, Massachusetts. And it became known as the Grand Union flag, and it was the first American flag. But once the Declaration of Independence came along and was signed, that flag literally became history. And as we say today, it was probably not politically correct to have the Union Jack in the corner of that flag. And so the Congress went back to work again on a new flag, and in June of 1777, they passed an official flag resolution stating the design of the flag with the red, white, and blue red-white stripes as we now know them. And of course, there were only 13 stars at that point in time. Now that they had no problems they did have a problem with how many points to put on the star. And they started out with 6, and Betsy Ross came along and said, you know, it's a lot easier to make a 5-pointed star, and so they moved to a 5-pointed star. But you will see some of those original flags or pictures of them having a 6-pointed star on there. There is no proof that Betsy actually sewed the first flag. This came about some years later when her grandson made a speech to the Historical Society in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and claimed that Betsy made that first flag. But there has never been any proof that she actually did make the first flag. There is proof that she did participate in helping to identify what the flag should be with the 5-pointed stars. So that's a little bit about that first symbol, that flag that was one of the first symbols that we had. The second symbol is a symbol that we see a lot flying over our heads, and that is the eagle. It took 6 years of arguing before our forefathers came up with a national emblem. And we all know that Benjamin Franklin, again, wanted a turkey because the turkey was a domestic and useful and very tasty item. but the turkey wasn't impressive enough for many of our forefathers. On the other hand, there were many other nations, that also used an eagle. But Franklin pointed out that the eagle is a bird of bad moral character because he was a scavenger that stole food from the other birds. That notwithstanding, they did reach a compromise in 1782, and Congress chose the bald eagle rather than the golden eagle, which was most commonly used by other countries, because the bald eagle is unique to North America and not used by other countries, while still having a very impressive nobility. Due to land mismanagement and other factors, of course, we know the bald eagle population was almost extinct. And in 1940, Congress passed a law forbidding the capture or killing of bald eagles. And since that time, and with the banning of DDT in 1973 and other conservation acts, the bald eagle has made a comeback in America. Now, the bald eagle is often represented on many signs that you will see, and many medallions or seals that you will see. And the next symbol that I'm going to talk about is where it is also represented, along with some other things that are in that seal. The Great Seal of the United States is a round piece of metal that's cast on both sides. And it was first commissioned by the Congress after signing the Declaration of Independence, and the final design wasn't approved until 1762. Now, most of us go about every day not thinking about the Great Seal of the United States of America, but you probably have it with you all day long until you go to bed at night. Pull out that dollar bill and look on the back of the dollar bill, and you will see both sides of the Great Seal of the United States of America. The Secretary of State keeps it for official use on documents, but only at the direction of the President, if he orders it. The front of the seal is our friend the bald eagle, with wings spread, with a shield of the United States on his chest. The shield has 13 red and white stripes for the 13 original colonies. The shield stands on the eagle's chest with no support at all, to represent that the U.S. relies on itself only and relies on its own virtue for right and justice. The top of the shield is a horizontal blue stripe that represents Congress, and in one of the eagle's talons he holds an olive branch for peace. In the other it clutches arrows for war. In the beak is a ribbon with the inscription E pluribus unum, meaning from many to one. Now, this was to mean that from many states there comes one nation. Above the eagle's head is a circular cloud filled with 13 five-pointed stars to mean a glory or breaking through of a cloud of those stars in the 13 states. The back of the seal also has a 13-layer pyramid, one that we're very familiar with once again, and it represents the 13, each of those layers represents the 13 original colonies. The stone of the pyramid is to represent lasting strength, and on the bottom is the Roman numeral for 1776, the date of the Declaration of Independence. So what does the big eye on the top of the pyramid mean? Well, it represents the all-seeing eye of divine providence. Above the pyramid are the Latin words, annuit copitus. He, God, has favored our understanding. And at the bottom of the pyramid are the words, Novus Ordo Seclorum, a new order of the ages is created. So that's a little bit about three of the symbols that we look to here in the United States. And they were the early symbols of our constitutional republic as it existed at that time.
These three men that were dedicating these stones and doing this program for today were three of the true pioneers of this area. And I doubt that without their efforts, their struggles, and their sacrifices, that this area would have become what it is. They truly were not only patriots, but pioneers of this area. And they all served in Connecticut, and after the war settled in this area. Noah Cowles was born October 17th, 1759 in Torrington, Connecticut. He was the son of Samuel Cowles and Sybil North. And again, with the mother, there was about 7 different ways of spelling Sybil, Sibylla, things of that nature. He served as a Marine and was captured and a prisoner at some point during his service. We're not exactly sure when. The service records are kind of sketchy. He married Miss Olive Mills in 1780 and had the following children: sons Salmon, Alpheus, Loren or Lorenzo, Joel, and Noah, and daughters Zilpha, Sybil, Lucinda, Philur, and Clarissa. His wife died in 1809, and he married his second wife, Abigail, shortly thereafter. He located Ashtabula County in 1801, so again, he was one of the very early settlers of this area. And he built a dam in the Mechanicsville area. He built a grist mill, a wooden mill, a sawmill, and a turning mill. In later years, he added a flour mill, a blacksmith shop, and a general store. So basically, he was truly a jack of all trades, and he added a lot of things that aided greatly to the economy of this area. He died on the 14th of January, 1839 in Geneva Township. Constantine Mills was born September 6th, 1761 in Norfolk, Connecticut. He was the son of Joseph Mills and Susanna Case. He served with the Continental Militia from 1778 through 1780 for a total of 6 months at different points. He married Miss Valetka Way, and they had 7 children: sons Martin, Alfred, Eben, Augustus, and daughters Charity, Dorinda, Rachel, and Rose. When this part of Ohio was settled, former Revolutionary War soldiers settled in this area. Among them were Deacon Constantine Mills and Clement Tuttle, who is our next patriot. Mill Creek, which is not far from this cemetery, was named after Constantine Mills. He died on October 21st, 1848. And rumor has it that he and Clement Tuttle made the journey from Connecticut to this area together. Clement Tuttle was born June 29th, 1756 in North Haven, Connecticut. His father was Jehiel Tuttle, and his mother was Charity Dayton. He was studying for the ministry when the Revolutionary War started. He served various enlistments from a few weeks to several months between the years of 1775 and 1782. He was involved with the taking of Fort St. John in Canada, the battle on Lake Champlain, and the engagement at Campo Hill, Connecticut. Now, I had to look this Campo Hill, Connecticut up. And interestingly, a few weeks ago, we did a program at Sheldon Cavalry Camp where I talk about the young folks and their contribution to the Revolution. And one of the stories I tell is about Sybil Luddington. To keep it short, we've all heard of Paul Revere, haven't we? Would you be surprised to find out he only rode 7 miles? And would you be surprised to find out that this 16-year-old girl rode 40 miles to alert the militia? Well, the thing was that Danbury was being sacked by the British, and she alerted her father's militia in New York, and they came and they harassed. They didn't get to Danbury in time to save the stores, but they harassed the British all the way back to the shoreline, picking them off and engaging with them. And that was the last time that the British ever ventured inland to do things of this nature. Well, this engagement at Campo Hill was at the end of the retreat when the British were retreating. It was near where the fleet was, and the Connecticut militia from a different area came into that area and engaged the British and inflicted heavy casualties upon them. So he was involved in that engagement. And again, like I said, that put the end of the British saying, well, we're going to venture inside New England and see what we can do. He married Miss Abigail Dutton in 1785 and had 8 children, sons Ira, Ara, Levi, and Harvey, and daughters Clarissa, Charity, Rhoda, and Abigail. Clarissa married Martin Mills, who was the son of Constantine Mills, and Ira married Charity Mills, who was the daughter of Constantine Mills. So they were fairly close families, at least 2 of them married. Mr. Mills and Tuttle were among the first permanent settlers of this area. Constantine Mills died on October 21st, 1848.
The sound that